the selfish part of all of us doesn't want to see you move to that next transition, but we're excited for you. Our final Kadima speaker, in J.K. fashion, always having footnotes. I encourage you to read his commentary books. Where are you, J.K.? Come on forward, the tallest man in this movement. Always with a great word. Was ordained at this conference a year ago. Let's welcome J.K. McKee.
I've had quite some time to think about which inappropriate remark I could start this presentation with, because I know many of you are experiencing hunger pains. But it is beyond dispute that I am probably the tallest person here at this conference. I am 6 feet, 0.66 inches tall, and I am just as tall as the Lord is, right? Lord Vader, right? Is there any other Lord? All right. So, I'll be talking about temporal versus eternal, living in a woke world while maintaining kingdom objectives. I know many sincere believers are absolutely obsessing over what is happening today in the world. They spend a great deal of time, their free time, focusing on the following matters: C, E, V, and T. And if you've all been paying attention to the events of the past several years, you know exactly what these are. And we've seen many predictions come and go. We've seen various positive things take place, like the reversal of Roe v. Wade. And we are looking for more to possibly take place. But too many people we know are looking for answers in the contemporary political world. They're looking for answers in what is happening in the temporal sphere of influence. And while I absolutely believe that American freedom is something worth fighting for, it's something worth dying for, it is temporal and it will pass away. And our leaders, no matter who they are regarded by Holy Scripture as being of the powers of this age. So while, for example, many people, they pray for changes to take place, they look to this or that, as I've processed this, I think to myself, okay, they want their freedom of speech preserved, they want to be able to express the good news in a free and open environment. I think in many regards, the best case scenario would be a libertarian society where we can have our freedom of religion and just don't advocate violence against another group, but you can have your opinion. And many people I know have been fighting for that very, very hard. But what then? What do you do once you get what you have been hoping for? You get that last chance to declare the good news or the gospel message unimpeded, as it were, from politics and from the threat against your free speech. I don't think many people are looking that far beyond the immediate horizon. If we get resolution to the VECT issues, what then? This is where we have to consider eternal matters, the long-term social and religious challenges which I think many of us have forgotten or overlooked because our attention has been so much on, well, what are they going to do about election 2020? Or what are they going to do about vaccine mandates? What are they going to do about this? What are they going to do about that? And while those matters can be very scary, there are 4 much scarier matters that you need to be paying very close attention to. And these are the words woke, deconstructing, ex-evangelical, and affirming. To give you some brief definitions, woke, number 1. This largely represents people who have been awakened to the apparent negative truth of conservative Judeo-Protestant influences on Western culture, our work and education ethic, economic system, and gross, of course, male injustices. What labels itself as woke is a hyper-liberal and progressive movement co-opting biblical language of redeemed human beings coming out of sinful darkness and into God's light. People are being awakened to a leftist world which conservative political and religious systems purposefully hid from them, which treated the Bible as somehow being divine when it really is to be treated as a human book subject to significant error. Number 2, deconstructing largely advocates that all of the previous European American influences have to be separated out and decompiled, taking into consideration a wider array of voices and perspectives which were purposefully silenced. The idea is that what has been presented as Messiah faith is not something rooted in the example of Yeshua, especially with his care for the poor and the dismissed of society, but that the Western Jesus is a capitalist Jesus of empire and colonialism, perhaps with the state of Israel being a dangerous byproduct of that. Number 3, ex-evangelical. This is a very, very new term. Has widely concluded that one of the most negative influences on the contemporary West has been conservative evangelical Protestantism. Evangelicalism has been too rigid in its approaches to biblical literalism and inerrancy. Evangelicalism is really just code for male control and a dismissal of women and homosexuals in the community of faith. And this further extends to how evangelicalism has conflated itself with the politics of the Republican Party. Post-evangelicals or ex-evangelicals need to stress and embrace the perspective of theological progressives. And then finally, number 4, affirming. It stresses that God made people the way that they are, whether that's straight or LGBTQ+. And I don't even know how 100 genders actually mechanically works, but we'll figure that out when I get there. Heterosexual evangelicalism has wrongly interpreted Bible passages describing same-sex intercourse as general prohibitions rather than specific contextual prohibitions against pedestry or homosexual rape. Committed same-sex relationships are not in view in Romans 1, 26 and 27, or 1 Corinthians 6, 9. The faith community has a responsibility to affirm whatever sexual or gender identities a person is believed to have been given by God, as love is love. Now, one of the things as I review these factors, because a significant amount of my extended family is woke, ex-evangelical, and affirming in all of this, is evangelical Protestantism soon going to be an endangered species? Now, as a Messianic community, we have to factor in how evangelicalism constitutes a great deal of our spiritual and material support for Jewish ministry, support of Israel, standing against anti-Semitism. How are the coming social changes in our society going to alter various future matters? Now, for our own purposes, as much as some of these things should hopefully scare us, shock us, the Jewish community we've been called to reach sits to the left of this. And while it's very easy for some people to say, well, the Jewish community in America, it's only like 2% of the population, it's not easy to dismiss 40% of the American population, which is going through these various left-wing changes. And what's going to happen? Have any of you gone on social media recently and seen the channel The Bible for Normal People by Pete Enns, where the Bible is stressed as, yes, you have to look at different scenes in the Bible as being contextual to the circumstances and the original author and the original date and all these things. But the Bible for Normal People really wants to promote very progressive, left-wing, higher critical theology. And what are your young people looking at on their electronic devices? It used to be that you have to go and find these fat, expensive books to discover some of these theories. Now you can find it for free very easily. And it's very possible in the coming years that we are facing a situation where tens of millions of people will begin to throw away their Bibles as myths and fairy tales. And we shouldn't beat ourselves up if all of our attention the past few years was on CEV and T, these temporal matters of what's immediately in front of us. But now, and I think we all sense this at this conference, we need to focus on these longer-term, eternal matters of declaring the good news And I hope you'll be able to weigh these factors as we focus our attention on seeing people redeemed from their sins and committed to better understanding why we're all here as Messianic people praying for the restoration of Israel. And of course, with that, the return of Israel's Messiah, where he will indeed sort out all of these different problems. Thank you. 10 seconds left.
JK, your handle is Messianic Apologetics on YouTube. I'm not sure what that is. Messianic Apologetics. We've got Radar Apologetics. We've got Messianic Apologetics. Seek out these two young guys. They're the next generation. They are fighting these battles in the public sphere. Stand up. I want to wish you a wonderful lunchtime. We'll be back here in this room again, 6:30 for dinner. We're going to have time.